Hey nerds, welcome to Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd, Bad Nerd. So we are, in the throes of this Daxamite invasion, leading up to the season finale, and there was some pretty good stuff this episode, but for the most part, there was so much of this episode that was just ridiculous. And I understand you have to give something for writing and plot and things like that, but first, we'll start with the highlights. First, a return of Callista Flockhart. Her first scene was a little heavy-handed with, hey, I'm Cat Grant, everyone needs to listen to me, but the rest of the episode with her in it was great. I thought her final speech of, morale boosting to the public was great. I would love to get more of her back. I actually loved her belittling what Jimmy had done to her office. I thought that was very in character, and I loved it. So Callista Flockhart, I wish we got more. I know we'll have her back next week, but it's just she needs to be back. That's in my opinion, that's what she needs to do. The other great thing, and this was just from the obvious alien irony, and I love that this is almost a reference to Mars Attacks, but you have the invasion taking place, and Rhea is her giant floating face saying, please don't fear us. Earth has nothing to fear. Just, we're here to help, blah, blah, blah. All that as her soldiers are literally murdering people in the streets. Such a funny moment for me, and it really was a shout back to the Mars Attacks where aliens are walking through the street and they've got the translation device and it's mistranslating them. So I love that. I thought it was great. But all the ridiculous stuff from this episode. First, the president flying into battle on Air Force One. She's bringing 2 F-18s and Air Force One to attack an alien armada. This was terrible. This was so bad. And it's not like she was just flying to a base or something outside the city. She was in the city. She wasn't that far away. She was so close she couldn't dodge. The plane couldn't dodge a very, very slow-moving laser. So that was terrible. That was just plain ridiculous. Next, Cyborg Superman's R2-D2 probe, and the fact that the moment before it happens, Kara says, okay, okay, R2-D2, or whatever. It was terrible. It was terrible. Next, when they're breaking back into the DEO, the air ducts. I know air ducts is kind of a standard trope for shows when they're breaking into things, but these air ducts were designed for people to walk through. They are so massive. They probably take up more of the building than anything else. It's obviously, I get it. They had to be big enough for filming and for the actors to be in there, and it just so bad. It was really, really bad. And then the last thing, and this was more, it goes back to a pet peeve I've had with how they treated Cat Grant when she was on the show in season 1, and that's that instantly she knows it's Jimmy under the helmet. But she still doesn't know who Supergirl is because they took that away from her. And she's not allowed to know. And I hate that. I hate that she still doesn't know. It just bugs the crap out of me that instantly she knows it's Jimmy. Partly because he might be one of the few black guys in the city, which is obviously a terrible bit of casting, but I can see your eyes. Yeah, it's still terrible. You should know Kara is Supergirl, and I hate that they took that away from Cat Grant. So that's what the ridiculous stuff of this episode. But moving on to the things that were revealed or that we have questions about. And the first is we see the president actually get revealed as an alien in front of the team, and we find out what race she is. She's Durland. Now, the Durlands aren't too important necessarily. They are a technologically advanced race of shapeshifters, and they're pretty xenophobic. They don't like other aliens visiting. They don't like leaving the planet, but the interesting thing about them is they had a kind of civil war on their planet called the 6-Minute War because they basically irradiated the entire planet. And doing so, all their young got sick, and because they're shapeshifters, for some reason, they all forgot what their original form was. So the Durlands, for the most part, are cloaked figures that just kind of have these weird tentacles. So that's kind of an interesting thing about them. But Outside of that, they don't really interact too much. They were a part of the invasion storyline, so that's an interesting thing that to tie them back to everything that's going on with the kind of the aliens in the CW universe. But in this case, the Durlands are not a part of that. In fact, the war she refers to was a war of their own making on their planet. So that's just a little background on the alien species that the president hails from. And I do find it interesting that the president has actually been on Earth for that long, that she was, Cat Grant's RA. So that's a pretty interesting thing. So, but that's who those aliens are. That's what that race is. And I don't think we're going to see any more Durland references, but it's a great way to have a shape-shifting alien, because you've got it in the comics and they aren't going to make a huge impact on the storyline. So the next thing is really just, what do we have in store for us next week? We have Superman making his triumphant return, although he's brainwashed of some sort or under their control, which will be interesting to find out how that happened. But we've also got what looks like a final fight, kind of a one-on-one trial by combat thing, where it's going to be Supergirl versus Rhea. And, everything comes down to that fight, which it doesn't make any sense, because the Daxamites are nowhere near as strong as the Kryptonians on Earth. Mon-El knows this. He's been there much longer. He's absorbed so much more solar radiation, yet he's still nowhere near as strong as Kara. So it'll be interesting to see if they put any restrictions on her in this fight or anything like that. But at the same time, I just don't see how Rhea could possibly win that. Now, the thing that I think is interesting is we got the Phantom Zone projector this week and how they manipulated it to be a teleporter. I think because of their screwing around on it, we're going to get some more escapees from the Phantom Zone. Specifically, I think this is how Zod is going to show up. And I think we're going to see him next episode. I don't know for sure. But it seems likely that he will make an appearance at some point. Maybe he will come in and take over the Daxamite fleet. Maybe he will come in the ruins and just totally, just trash a weekend Superman and Supergirl. But I can see them ending on a cliffhanger where Zod is here and he has Superman and Supergirl as his captives. So what do you guys think? What did you think of this episode? And what do you think we have in store for us next week? Until then, guys, I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this has been Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies.